My name is Chuck Anderson, and I'm the fishmonger of the bunch. And today I am working with Dr. Keith Cox. And you're not a fishmonger. What do you do, Keith?
I'm the fish scientist guy. And so I'm the chief science officer with Seafood Analytics and CQ Foods. And I do all the behind the scenes math and science stuff.
I come out of the seafood industry. I was, I was a fish cutter. I used to wear rubber boots. I wore a rubber apron. I was wet and cold for hours on end. I can fillet any kind of fish. I can wait on customers. I can fill orders. I can load a truck. I can drive a truck. I can call chefs, work with chefs, deliver to them, get chewed out by chefs. I'm really good at that. So I've done all those things. So I try to take the real world applications of what you do. So you have all this science and all this neat stuff behind the scenes, but how do we apply that to the real world and improve our quality, reduce shrink, not throw product out as much, and serve better product to our customers. So that's my kind of job.
Really, this episode right now should really be, why people need this product. What is the need?
At the fishmonger level, whether it's receiving or before I send it out to a customer, I want to make sure it's good. And this can help me do that. So hopefully people go like, oh, okay, I could use something like that. Now we can show them, just exactly what it is and how it works. So this is the hardware device. So it's really the whole system. So you got a hardware device, you're going to upload the data, and then you're going to manage the data and look at the data and make decisions off of that.
So people will be using this, as well as the organoleptic, because I could see the organoleptic still being an important process. I mean, if something stinks like ammonia, you'd still want to be able to utilize that. So this would be a tool in the toolbox for evaluating inbound product.
Right. So people have been evaluating fish, for years. There's guys that have a lot of experience, and they don't think they necessarily need something like this. But again, you can measure more stuff than you did before, and it's not that easy. Usually, it's not like, oh, you get the fish in, oh, I'm going to reject this. I can't tell you how many times as a seafood manager I get product in and I'd have to look at it. And I'm like, no, it's not. I mean, it's not diamonds. This is not perfect. This isn't the kind of stuff I really want to put in my case. But is it bad enough that I need to reject it? Maybe it was frozen. I'm not sure. Maybe look at it a little bit harder. So this can help there too, because it'll tell you how gray it is. But yeah, the decision. Usually, if I found myself looking and smelling it 2 or 3 times, it was not good enough to keep. If I found myself like, will this last 3 days in my case? I don't know. And if I had to think that hard about it, then I usually lean toward rejection. But I think what this can do is it's just an augmentation. So right now, a receiver will look at the product, look at the tag, look for country of origin. He's going to look for method of production. Is it farmed or wild? Is the labeling right? But then he takes a core temperature of the product. Did they keep
So they're looking for clues that fish might be bad.
Right. So this is just another tool. So, one of the tools is a thermometer to say, well, what's the temperature? I want that fish. It's got to be under 41 degrees for the food code. And some people have tighter standards. Some people say, hey, if it's not under 38, I've got an issue and I'm going to talk to my supplier or I may reject the product.
But the CQR would be reflective of any past abuses that product has had, because once damage in the tissue happens, it would be reading it up to that point. Show me how that thing works. What is that?
Okay. This is the Certified Quality Reader by Seafood Analytics. So we call it a CQR for short. So this was originally a medical device, which has been converted into a fish measuring device. So there are 4 electrodes, so it has to make contact with the fish. And I'm going to show you a close-up of one of the electrodes. So this is one of the electrodes. This is a high-grade stainless steel. So it's food grade for food contact. It has a little spring inside. So it doesn't hurt the fish. And fish are not flat. It's not like a perfectly flat surface. So the compression electrodes kind of form fit to whatever shape the fish is. So one compression electrode might be 25% depressed, one might be 50%, and one might be 75, but it's still going to give you good contact surface, so the electricity will pass through and you get a good reading. So essentially what happens is you have 4 buttons. It's a real simple machine to use. You have an on button and an off button. So you hit the on button. It takes about 3 seconds to load up, and it says you're ready to start measuring. And then you've got 2 arrow buttons. So you can program this screen to say whatever you want. You have 2 different groups. You can have a group and a type. So for a seafood processor, they might have a list of boats. So they could select, I want the Mary Jane, the Jane Marie, the Susie Ann, the Perseverance, and okay, this is Perseverance. Boom. Then you hit enter. All right. And then you're going to say, what species am I measuring? Am I measuring sockeye salmon, chum salmon, king salmon? Okay. It's Perseverance, king salmon, enter, and now I'm ready to start measuring.
So you're about to measure something. And so then you can have preset labels in the machine. So I know that I'm measuring Chuck's fish, and those are red snapper. And so then I can select Chuck's fish and red snapper. And then whatever measurements are associated with that label.
So I'm going to measure Tim's Seafood. So there it says Tim's Seafood. So I hit enter. All right. And now I have a salmon, Atlantic salmon portion. So I like that. That's what I'm going to measure. So I'm going to hit enter. And now it says ready to measure. All right. Now I just place this onto the fish, and you'll see it takes about even less than a second, and you have numbers there. So I place it on, I hit the enter button, and boom, I've got a recorded measurement. It shows me a QI, which is a quality index. It's also going to show me an A and a B value, which is kind of the raw data coming into the machine.
There's a very small current going through it, and so you can't even detect it. And it's so small that it goes around the cells, so it's an undetectable current. And like Chuck said, it's FDA listed for an FDA medical device, and so it is for use on humans. And so you can touch it. There's 0 risk of electrical shock.
One thing I want to talk about is this is food grade. So any food contact surface, you want to wash, rinse, and sanitize every 4 hours. So usually standard operating procedure is, as you're measuring it, you're going to wipe this thing off, periodically whenever it gets real dirty. And most folks will use something like an alcohol swab pad. You open it up, you wipe the pad on the surface of it, and then you're good to go. And then at least every 4 hours you have to do that. That's a minimum, but most people do it more often than that. And then usually at the end of the day, you can take these and put them into a bucket of soapy water, swish them around for a while, put them into some sanitizer solution, swish them around, then you let them air dry. And that's the cleaning.
So you measure a fish, and so then you see the score right there on the screen. So you could be going through a box of fish, and you could have, it doesn't smell. The product looks pretty good, and then you measure like a subsample of the box, and then you could see the quality level of each one of those fillets or whatever you were measuring, and then you could have a threshold. Yeah,
so that's exactly how it works. So you caught a good thing there. So the QI number, basically the higher the QI number is, the better the quality is. As the fish degrades, and the product breaks down, that QI number is going to be lower. So after you use this for a while, you start to see it's like, okay, my good red snapper are always 15 or higher, and the ones that are questionable might be 12. And as time goes on, you learn what's good, and you can use this tool to determine how good the suppliers are, and should I accept, reject, and those kind of things.
Can you feel the current when you put it on your hand?
No. I'm